If you've spent the last few evenings scrolling through endless Laminator listings, comparing prices, looking at the glossy specs, and still feel like you might end up with a machine that either sits idle or burns through your budget, this review is for you. I've been in that exact spot trying to decide between a hefty, industrial-type unit and a tiny desktop model that looks good on a shelf but might not actually handle the workload. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In the next few minutes I'll walk through what the GBC Velocity 4410076 actually does in a real office or homeschool setting, who will get the most bang for their buck, and where it might leave you wishing you'd spent a little more time reading the fine print. First off, the thing that sets this Laminator apart from a lot of the entry-level options is the automatic alignment feature. Most cheap models require you to manually feed the pouch, watch the rollers, and hope the film doesn't get crooked. The Velocity senses the pouch and pulls it straight through, which cuts down on jams and eliminates that awkward moment when half of your document is stuck half laminated. For anyone who laminates in batches, say a teacher preparing 30 worksheets for a class, or a small business owner printing price tags for a pop-up shop, that hands-free consistency is a real time saver. The machine also heats up in under a minute, so you're not waiting for a long warm-up cycle before you can start feeding sheets. The compact footprint, about 42.5 by 23.5 centimeters, means it slides comfortably onto a typical desk without hogging the whole work surface. That's a big plus if you're operating out of a home office where space is at a premium. Inside the box you get an 80-micron starter roll, which is enough to run a couple of test batches and give you a feel for the speed and pressure before you load your own pouches. The versatile options claim isn't just marketing fluff. The machine lets you toggle between 3 thickness settings: thin, medium, thick, covering the most common pouch sizes from 3 mm up to 7 mm. If you've ever needed a thicker, more rigid finish for a menu or a waterproof ID badge, you can dial that up without having to buy a separate laminator. Now, let's talk about the practical side of daily use. The auto alignment works well with standard 8-inch wide pouches, which are the most common size you'll find for documents, certificates, or small signage. If you need to laminate something wider like a 11-inch poster or a large classroom map, you'll quickly run into a limitation because the feed slot only accepts the 8-inch width. That's not a deal-breaker for most office tasks, but it's something to keep in mind if your workflow leans heavily on larger formats. Another nuance is the warm-up cycle. While a minute feels fast, the machine does keep the rollers hot for the duration of the job. If you plan to run it intermittently throughout the day, you'll notice a slight increase in energy usage compared with a model that shuts down automatically after each use. For a small office that laminates a few dozen items per week, the extra wattage is negligible, but a truly occasional user might prefer a manual feed, on-demand laminator that stays off until you press a button. Who should definitely consider the GBC Velocity? If you're a teacher, tutor, or homeschool parent who regularly prepares worksheets, flashcards, or protective covers for student projects, the speed and hands-free operation will feel like a small miracle. Small-scale retailers, craft sellers on platforms like Etsy, or anyone who needs to produce a steady stream of laminated labels, barcodes, or small signs will also benefit from the quick turnaround and the ability to switch thickness on the fly. The compact design means you can store it in a supply closet and pull it out whenever you need it, without committing to a floor-standing unit that takes up several square feet. On the flip side, if you only need to laminate once a month for personal projects, the starter roll may feel like an overkill, and you'll be paying for features you won't fully use. Likewise, anyone who requires larger format laminating, think conference posters, oversized menus, or architectural drawings, should look at a wider feed model. The Velocity also lacks a built-in cutter, so you'll need a separate trimmer or scissors to finish the edges cleanly. That isn't a surprise for a desktop unit, but it does add a small extra step that power users sometimes overlook. When it comes to value, the price point sits in a sweet spot between the bargain basement models that often break down after a few hundred runs and the high-end office machines that cost several times more. The automatic alignment alone justifies a higher price than a fully manual laminator, because it reduces waste, no more half-laminated sheets that have to be discarded. The included starter roll also means you can start testing right away without hunting down the right pouch size. In terms of durability, the GBC brand has a reputation for